Hello, welcome to another Sunday morning Your Lurgan podcast. It may be a different time of the day when you're watching, but thank you for watching. I'm Donagh McKeown.
And I'm Michael Scott. Hello.
And Michael is the editor. He's the man in charge, really. I'm the one who can fly off at the handle and do all the silly stuff. We're welcoming you to another week of intrigue and all sorts of shenanigans, I suppose. We're focusing on a story that's very poignant and sad, but it is also a repeat of a similar kind of story we did in the last week or two about how our hospitals are under so much pressure.
Yeah, you may recall that a couple of weeks ago we did a story about how a nurse had told us that Craigavon area hospital at that time was at breaking point, under real pressure, staff under pressure, ambulances queued up outside the A&E. Nothing really new there, but we've sort of seen in recent days a story that came to light, which really highlighted how this is impacting on patients, and it's very, very sad. And there may be people out there who might be sort of disturbed by what we're about to talk about, because obviously a lot of people have been through this. So we are going to talk about miscarriages. So if you are affected by that, maybe you want to skip forward a wee bit until we're done. But yeah, really, really sad story about how this was brought to us by the same source, same staff that highlighted that the hospital was under pressure. And in this incident, what happened was a mother who was expecting a baby was going through a miscarriage, and was basically had to pass her baby into a sick bag, which is just horrific, absolutely horrific.
It's beyond imagination, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Now, the trust, for their part, they have said basically they will, judge all patients that come in by the severity or the necessity of the treatment they need.
Prioritising, it's a necessity, sadly, because they don't have the resources to help every single individual, but they do it, I'm sure, with the best intention, as quickly as possible.
In the case in question that we're talking about, I mean, the patient was told she wasn't an emergency, and they gave her a pad to sit on. Was what we were told by a member of staff. And the trust told us in response, and if we put this to them, they said that while they aren't able to comment on any individual patient, they take all concerns about the care they provide extremely seriously. They also added that they would encourage any patient or family member who had concerns about their services to contact their service user feedback team. And then the statement adds that we continue to prioritise and treat patients by the urgency and severity of their illness in line with, I think that's maybe, existing guidance.
So. It's into this realm of which we've moved into, the era of apportioning blame as soon as possible. Who can I blame for this? Who can I go against? Who can I really express maybe my anger, my disappointment, whatever, to get back at something or somebody? And the absolute truth is, Michael, you're attacking, it's not quite the windmill, but you're attacking something that doesn't really exist, in the sense that you can't blame anybody for this if they make the conscious decisions within the budgetary restraints that are upon them. So we're not doing that, I suppose. I mean, it's the same maybe in our later story too. What is there that we can do? What should we be doing about this? Do we get cohorts of people to write and say this is not right, this is not right, or should there be a direction as to this is not right? Maybe is this a time to contact those who have the power to change budgets at such a level, to rethink maybe the whole structure of how you give funding to hospitals, how you give funding to health in general? Is that about as much as we can do, or is there something more that I might be missing?
I don't know, Donna, is the honest answer. I really don't. I think it's obviously people who work in the hospitals, and actually the people who run the hospitals, the trust as well, have a really, really tough job. And obviously staff there are that concerned that they're quite willing to stick their neck out in the line to come to us and other outlets as well.
And some of this
to tell the people, to tell the public through us I don't want to sound all Stephen Nolan, but this is what happens. They come to us to tell us their stories because they're that perturbed by what's going on.
And that's what the role of media can be.
But I don't. So you can't point the finger even at the trust. I don't think, because I don't think the trust have done the staff at the trust have done the best that they can in that situation. From what we gather, I mean, obviously we weren't there. We don't know the situation. We don't know everything in and out. But by the sounds of it, it's not something that they have managed badly. I think obviously there's big pressures at the hospital. And the only thing that's going to resolve that, Donagh, I think, is going to be more staff, more money.
More staff, more money. You're back to the budget that they don't have the overall control of. It's just, can you influence that change or whatever change you wish to see by some pressurisation on folks who have that responsibility, whether it's the members of Parliament, whether it's the members of Stormont, but very shortly neither of those will be in action for a while. I'm
Brilliant.
gathering, but
yeah. I mean,
which is
that's the thing. I mean, maybe now is a good time to start writing to your MP and your MLA and whoever else you want to write to about these issues, the health minister or whatever, because if there is an election coming up, and we'll see what happens over across the water in Westminster, but if the Secretary of State's true to his word and he's going to call an election on Friday, or this Friday.
Yeah, this Friday. It's going to come to pass.
Well, then, certainly the health service and the state of the health service is going to be one of those big topics that people are going to want to see resolved.
And I can answer the question now. It's not something that the people at Stormont or the Minister of Health for this part of the world can answer. Constraints by budget, constraints by attitude towards what a national health service should offer. It's all about saving and saving and saving and saving and saving. It's not working. Spending. We have to do it at the price of something else, the cost of something else. Well, maybe it's time to reinforce and reinvigorate the campaign to do that, to look to health, to look to the importance and the needs of that before any of this stuff. Of course, cost of living crisis comes in the middle of all that, which affects, on the other end, more people needing help, more people needing our health sources. It's a kind of a vicious circle, isn't it? Really is.
Yeah. Obviously, big calls at the minute for another election, given what's happened in Westminster over the past week, which, I mean, I think it was one of the BBC journalists had pushed, or it's not pushed, he had questioned Sir Graham Brady, who's the chairman of the 1922 committee, who's going to be basically in charge of the Conservative MPs over in Westminster, and he just put it to him very, very bluntly: "Isn't this a dog's dinner?" And you can't disagree with that. Not just in the way that things have worked out over the past week, but and not just over the last 6 weeks, but certainly over the last, I don't know how long you go back, Donagh. I mean, you can go back further than I can.
As long as that piece of string.
Yeah. It hasn't been good.
Dog's dinner's right. It's rough. And I think the only thing you can do in the short term is have a quick laugh and then look much deeper into it. Take action where you can. Anyway, that's it. Yeah. We don't want to start the revolution. It's already up and going.
Yeah,
anyway.
I think so. We'll move on to our second topic, which is one which we talked about last week, actually, which was tourism.
Yeah.
You were right.
Well, the strategy came out the week before, and we talked about it, and there was a notable absence of activity or projects that were focused on Lurgan. And of course, you're from Lurgan, I'm from Lurgan, our listeners and viewers live in Lurgan, and it was just a time to reassess that and see where things were and where things could be. So I took the opportunity to go out to, I suppose, committed individuals within it who are in largely in that tourism area and space. They're also very much into heritage, which connects with tourism, or can be, and increasingly becoming a part of tourism, not just here in Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland, but around the world. People are into heritage. So I spoke to a couple of people, as you know. The report, I think, going out to the weekend, whether it was Friday night or whatever. Yeah. And just to have a quick look at some of the people who were engaged in that. Isabel Hylands and David Martin.
Well, firstly, it's good to see that the ABC had the event. I mean, that's a positive. And it's good to see that they're reaching out to promote tourism within the borough itself. And they highlighted some really, what I would say, very, very good projects. And we're delighted to see that, and to see that projects seem to be going to get funding for various aspects. Personally, and I'm going to put my Lurgan hat on here, I was a bit disappointed in that I didn't hear. I'm not saying there isn't, but I didn't hear at the conference, nor has it been communicated to me of any major investment or projects for Lurgan. And I say Lurgan, I would actually say the same would be for Craigavon, and I'd have to say the same would be for Portadown. I'm delighted to see that Banbridge is really coming to the fore and has been projected very, very well. Armagh City itself speaks for itself, and the numerous events there. And so with obviously the willingness of ABC to promote Banbridge, Armagh, and the various events, I don't think it's wrong to say this. I'd like to see a bit more, and I'm being sort of biased here, but I'd like to see a bit more here in this wonderful historic town of Lurgan.
We'll come to more of what those ideas might be and how you go about that as the protagonists, or yourself too, Isabel. What were your initial thoughts? I know you weren't there. You've had a brief idea of what was going on. What were your thoughts?
I only got to read the bit that was on the Facebook. But the one thing that I did notice was that there was no mention of Lurgan, Craigavon, Portadown. And I was very disappointed, because we have a lot of history and heritage in this town that is extremely important. And probably one of the problems is we don't appreciate it enough. And maybe it's time people of the town and the people of the area actually got together and tried to help us to pull this to the fore and show how important the legacy here is, and how important, how useful to a tourism map that could be.
So
It was a really interesting conversation.
And it was a conversation that led to, and I suppose maybe I kind of gave them the nod towards this beforehand, but they're well capable of coming about this. Bashing is one thing. How can I, as a person, individual or collective, offer a solution? And that's what we're trying to do here. This might be a solution to this, might be a solution to that. Bring other people involved, bring a community dimension and direction to it, encourage, and who knows what happens. But looking towards solution, not looking towards you should have, you know the stuff. You know the stuff.
No, I thought, there were some really good points made in it, and it's all about now. I can't remember who was actually made the point, but I think it's basically up to the people of Lurgan and the people who are looking after tourism projects, for want of a better word, in this area, to sort of stand up on their own 2 feet and sort of say, right, well, look, we can do this. We've got a lot to offer here. David Martin said this is a very historical town. You look at what we have to offer here, and we are going to do that.
Yeah.
The videos.
We're going to go to 4 or 5, or at your suggestion, places that are attractive to attract not just the tourists from far away, but the tourists at home. That was a big growth, as you know, because of COVID and stuff. But so, yeah, that's still very much in the cards.
Yeah, but we've got a lot to offer here, and why shouldn't we shout about it? Let's tell people, what we're all about, and certainly if ourselves at Your Lurgan can help promote that and change the perception that people have that Lurgan is not a pleasant place. Let's try and change that and get people coming down here and get tourists in. Let's get them spending their money in the area. Let's be blunt about it. We want to get people spending their money in this area, give the place a boost, get people coming here and thinking, actually, this is all right.
We have the feelers out, because I'm in this collective too. We have the feelers out to invite one particular individual who I can whisper in your ear afterwards, but who would be a part of the advent of change that we want to see externally, to help them change their ideas and concepts of this fine town, rather than standing up on a platform or a stage and taking fun at us. You're probably able to work out who that is, but more about that in coming weeks. He's intrigued now.
I am. Work good on behind my back. No, that's fine. We'll move on. We'll move into sport, because there's a lot of sport this week to talk about. We'll start off with GAA and some sad news during the week.
Sad news, it emerged just last weekend, I think Friday passed, and that's the previous Friday, so we're a week and a day or two away from it. The passing of Frank Toman. Frank, in his early 70s, if that or thereabouts, to me was a legend growing up. I went to school in Newry, where he was part of the first ever team that won the All-Ireland Hogan Cup in 1967, and he was only 15. He was at least 2, if not 3 years younger than most of those around him, and certainly on the other team. He had a remarkable gift and strength and balance. He wasn't that tall, of it being a great Gaelic footballer. Started off perhaps in those days as a defender, went on to play obviously for his home side of Clonerne, but also played for Armagh and was a participant in the latter stages of the All-Ireland final in 1977. He was on the losing team, albeit, but he was up there, and he gave many great performances for Armagh. He loved sport and took up all sports. He was very good at soccer. I think he played for some local teams. I'll try and find out a bit more about that later for next week. And he also played, I'm sure and almost certain, for the firsts in Lurgan rugby, and was much loved and appreciated there. I think he met his to-become wife through that connection. And they later went on to move to England a few years ago, maybe 20 years ago, living around Derby or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I think he played rugby for Derby. Up until the over 50s, he was the fittest man to be able to do that. In recent times, you covered the story about one of his family. I think they're all sporty, the siblings or the children, who is an England hockey player and played in the Commonwealth Games.
I think she actually won gold. I think possibly gold at the Olympics with the GB team.
Well, possibly. If
Anna Toman.
If not that, certainly at the Commonwealth Games.
She won a medal anyway. I remember that off the top of my head. But yes.
So a lovely man, much loved and respected around Ireland, not from the sporting community. He just had an easy way with him. But for me, he was like my George Best when I'm at school. George Best is on the telly. Frank Toman's on the pitch, and he was something else. So I'm trying to think, did I ever get a chance to play with him, perhaps even in five-a-side? I may have, but I was well aware of all of his skills and footballing ability. And at the core of it, he was a lovely man. So sad to hear the passing. And as the word got out around the street, a lot of people had many really, really lovely reflections about him. And I hope to catch some of those in the coming week. I think his funeral is coming up on this coming Friday.
Sticking with GAA, moving on, but sticking with GAA, a busy week this week. There's a couple of big finals happening today, Sunday.
Today, later in the day, 2 o'clock throw-in in Donagh in Monaghan. It's kind of central north Monaghan, that sort of area, just north of Carrick Cross. They have been in the past champions of Ireland a number of times, 5 or 6 times. They're the thought leaders, as it were, in that field. Not so recently, but recent enough to scare the life out of any other team coming along. So that's a big challenge for Clonerne, the ladies who just won Armagh last week. And because it was a replay, they only had a week's break. Donagh have had 3 or 4 weeks to contemplate. So that's happening, and I'll have reports in it later in the day. Perhaps try to update you through your good self, through scores, through Eugene, or whatever. Maybe a video report at the end of that to see how it went. Right or wrong, good or bad, we'll give you the report.
And St Paul's?
So St Paul's are into their intermediate final, first final they've been in a while. They're looking forward to it, I'm sure. You've seen the updates and the thoughts of Eugene and Tommy and Michael. Maybe even another report coming out this morning, for all I know. Looking towards that.
Not that I'm aware of, anyway. There was a preview which went out on Your Lurgan on Saturday night, so you can read all about Eugene Craney's thoughts in the game.
Absolutely. Well, I knew it,
in the GAA section of our website.
Yeah, I fell asleep. I missed that overnight. So that's it. It's coming up later in the day too. I think it's a 2:00 throw-in as well. That's in the athletic grounds and followed by the Ulster or the Armagh Championship final.
Yeah, isn't it Cross McGlenn against Grainmore?
Yep,
A tight
absolutely.
game, that one.
Following the results of the last week or two, Cross McGlenn have come back to life again. Major win against Markby. But anyway, keep your fingers crossed if you're from Grainmore.
Yes, we'll move on into football. Just before we started filming this, we'll be honest, we filmed this on Friday afternoon, and just before I left the house, I was delayed because Ian Barclough has been sacked as Northern Ireland manager, and as somebody who follows Northern Ireland, can I just say, thank God.
Tell us what you really think there, Michael.
I'm just so pleased. I'm so pleased.
Give us his record. Give us his
look,
record.
okay, right. Sorry, I don't want to see anybody ever lose their job. It's not nice seeing some. It's part of football. It happens now. Okay, but the football in Northern Ireland.
Do you know what it is? It's a more secure job than being a prime minister. I can tell you that. But that's by the by.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll come back to that in a minute. But the football Northern Ireland have been playing over the last few years has been terrible. The Nations League, which is a competition that Northern Ireland should be looking at to try and engineer a way into qualifying for the Euros, they've been terrible in. I think the only a few weeks ago, and I think it was possibly Barclough's penultimate game, was their first win in that competition. It's been going for 3 or 4 editions now. Yeah. That's shocking. Shocking record.
So how long has he been in this position?
Off the top of my head,
3 years,
far
4
too
years?
long, Donagh.
Far too long. Okay.
Far too long. I feel sorry for him in a way because he got the job. He replaced Michael O'Neill, which was always going to be a tough job to do.
The Euros and all sorts of stuff.
It was always going to be a tough job.
But
he's promoted up to the first team from the 21s, where he had done a reasonable job with the 21s, under 21s. But I mean, he's done nothing. Like our best player is still Stephen Davis, who is what, 37, 38.
He's a tremendous player at that too.
Yeah.
And he's under pressure too. He's at Leeds, where
no, he's not.
He was at Leeds, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't.
Oh no,
he's playing for Rangers.
Oh right, but he's not playing for. Where did he play when he was?
Stephen Davis.
Yeah.
Never played for Leeds.
Oh, did he play? He played in the Premiership though.
He played for Aston Villa. He played for Fulham.
Oh yeah, okay.
Years ago.
I knew that he played for them. Yeah.
But anyway,
that's why I'm not the soccer correspondent.
But look, Barclough's gone. We move on, and the two immediate names of.
Would you save them for a second? But a quick question with you with that. You're the heart of Glenavon. You know what goes on there. What's the relationship, or what was the relationship between somebody like Ian Barclough, managers of those clubs, and your own club? Was there any sort of connectivity?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is that a way forward to be looking out for who's
going on and
what's been done?
Ian Barclough, to be fair to him, did give Conor McMenamin a chance, the Glentoran player, but they're full time. Like, the Irish League's not a league that no, sorry. I was going to say he also gave Joel Cooper a chance whenever he was with Glenavon, but he didn't. That was Michael O'Neill did that. Okay. But no, there wasn't much of a connection. Maybe the managers would talk. I don't even think that happens. I don't believe I've ever heard Gary say, "I was down meeting Ian Barclough." So I don't think that happens. No.
So back to your suggestion of 2 names. Is Gary Hamilton one of them?
No. Again, I'm quite pleased about that for a number of reasons. Sorry, Gary, but you stick with that album. You're fine there. But no, 2 names. Obviously, Michael O'Neill, who was recently sacked by Stoke.
He's kind of near local, isn't he? Where was he?
He was living out in Guildford, I think.
Guildford or Blair or
somewhere around that there.
Yeah.
Which he did a great job whenever he was in charge first time around. but there was always over in football. Maybe you shouldn't. If you've been somewhere, maybe you shouldn't go back. If you've got a great reputation, maybe you shouldn't go back. Even if you've got a bad reputation, maybe you shouldn't go back. Isn't that right, Boris? Anyway,
He's here all week.
I am. Anyway, the other name, of course, is being linked with it now. The recently sacked manager of Omani and Nicosia.
Is he any local connections?
Neil Lennon? Might have. Which, I tell you what, if that was to come off, would be a remarkable appointment. Not for football reasons or anything like that, but obviously what has happened in the past. Obviously, we all know the story about Neil Lennon's Northern Ireland or football career being curtailed after an incident where death threats were made against him. I think he was due to captain the Northern Ireland team that time, for the first time or something.
Could have been, yeah.
And he was withdrawn at very short notice. Was it against Norway they were due to play? Mm-hmm. Can't remember now. I think it was Norway at Windsor Park. But look, it'd be an interesting appointment. There would have to be a lot of, well, maybe not so much now. There would still be an element of Northern Ireland fans who have to be brought on board with that appointment. They might never be on board, but that's just the society we live in. From a footballing point of view, would it be the right choice? This is a man who's just lost his job after managing a team in the Cypriot League, but he had a very good record, obviously in Scotland with Celtic.
This is a man who took Manchester United to the embarrassment of defeat or of a draw within a minute of
they very nearly lost.
So all of a sudden he understood what he was up against. Mm-hmm. So there's pros and cons for.
Yeah, no, I think the other thing as well is a lot of people had this perception that Neil Lennon and Northern Ireland didn't get on, but if you go back to 2016, whenever Northern Ireland qualified for the Euros, Neil Lennon was a pundit on the TV for, I think it was the BBC.
Absolutely.
And referred quite often to Northern Ireland as we and they. Or sorry, as we and us. So,
well, when you get caps...
Get the proper pronouns
I
there.
don't know how many caps you've had for it. You put your name out there, your heart in your sleeve, as it were.
Yeah. So it would be an interesting appointment. It would certainly raise eyebrows. But those are two of the early names that have jumped out. I mean, there's other names as well that we mentioned. Stephen Robinson, who was at Motherwell for a while. Don't know if he's still there, can't remember now. Tommy Wright, of course, the former Northern Ireland goalkeeper. Those two names always seem to get mentioned for the Northern Ireland job whenever they come available these days.
Who makes the decision?
It'll be the IFA, probably between the chief executive, which is Patrick Nelson, and the president, who at the current time is Conrad Kirkwood. There might be others involved. There'll probably be some sort of panel set up to find a new manager. And of course, they'll go out and they'll find expressions of interest. Another one to keep an eye out for. Big Sam. Big Sam Allardyce.
Allardyce, wow. There's
I'm
one
going to pull that name out of the hat. Because Big
Sam, if you're listening, give us a call.
Big Sam might be interested, but certainly the reason it obviously gives an interest to us because obviously Neil Lennon might be the next Northern Ireland manager.
Having said all of that, Sam has had other inquiries. Some of them coming from Westminster apparently, but there may be that may just be a scurrilous rumour.
That's a revolving door. You wouldn't want it. So what else are we talking about? Oh yeah, Glenavon. Forgot about them. Yeah,
I thought that was because you chose to forget about them.
Oh, it's been one of those weeks where obviously Glenavon has suffered quite a bit in recent weeks, per games, per performances and stuff like that. And yes, results over the past two games. Obviously, you'll have seen my report again, or from the Crusaders game last Saturday, and then we played Linfield on Tuesday night and lost both games.
Well, I know the score was 3-2 last Saturday.
It was 3-2 again.
3-2 again. So they scored.
Yeah, very nearly beat Linfield. Very, very, very nearly beat Linfield.
They were close enough to
you couldn't walk away from either of those two games thinking deserve to lose. Or come away feeling disappointed. Well, you were coming away feeling disappointed that you didn't get something for either of those two games. If on another night, another week, we could have been talking about Glenavon having 4 points against out of two games. But just very unfortunate. The Linfield game in particular was just heartbreaking. Like even, the absolutely bossed Linfield for at least an hour of the game. Linfield got back on level terms. The goal, which was the winner, there was a foul in the build up to it. Definitely, as far as I'm concerned, as far as Gary Hamilton was concerned after the match, he was fuming. You know
There's
Matthew
no
Fitzpatrick had been
VAR
no,
in Northern Irish
you
football.
can't
Never
wind
likely
back.
to. No, no.
Well, there's talk of a VAR light coming in maybe next season, but I mean I don't know how that would even work. But
What about young Healy as manager of Northern Ireland? Has he the credentials, the credibility to step into that sort of a role?
I think he would rather go across the water and manage in England first than take on the Northern Ireland job. I don't know why the job might be too big for him. But
Well,
certainly he's done a fantastic job at
He's
Linfield.
not tall right now.
No. What's he? He's won 5 out of 6 league titles or something like that. There, he's remarkable
Yeah.
record at Linfield at the minute for somebody who came in as a managerial novice. So, he'll be another name to be mentioned anyway.
Okay.
But anyway, back to
Glenavon.
Glenavon. On Saturday, Glenavon played. I never forgot to finish my point. Actually, Glenavon very unlucky over the last 2 games. Should have got something out of the 2 games. Didn't. Can't blame anybody. Just bad luck. Glenavon played Carrick Rangers yesterday, Saturday, at Moorview Park. I was there doing the live updates, which you can go back onto the sports section of our website and follow along if you really want. But or if you really would rather prefer and want to know how the game finished, here's me telling you how it finished. I'm pleased to say that we're talking about a Glenavon win. Glenavon have beaten Carrick Rangers 4-2 at Moorview Park. Also, I forgot to record the video after the game. That's why we're in my little office, which as you can see has got some clothes on it. But anyway, yeah, great win for Glenavon. Played really, really well once again. Good performance. Finished 4-2 in the end. Matthew Fitzpatrick gave Glenavon the lead after 13 minutes. Tapped in from close range. But then almost immediately, Carrick were back in level terms. Andrew Mitchell, who scored a great goal against Glenavon the first time these teams met back in September. He levelled the scores. Again, another great finish from the edge of the box. 1 each at that stage. Then Owen Bradley on 28 minutes restored Glenavon's lead. And again, Glenavon playing really, really well. Half time could have been 4 or 5 up. In fact, Bradley had the ball in the net again just before the break. Could have been at 3-1. But he was ruled out for an offside. Now, I'm told, I haven't seen the replay, I'm told the goal should have stood. But no matter, as you can tell, the result didn't really matter in terms of the result. Then it was 2 each just after the break. I'm just trying to find all my list of goal scorers to remind me who scored. Yeah, Lloyd Anderson just after the break. Glenavon failed to deal with a corner that came in, and Anderson couldn't really miss from where he was. I think a bit of pinball in the box before he scored. They make it 2 each. Then the second half was a bit itty-bitty. It was very... Carrick tried to frustrate Glenavon quite a bit, and for a long period it looked as though Glenavon weren't going to crack the nut that was Carrick Rangers. But and just as they were about to make a double substitution, Owen Bradley was going to come off, and so was Jack Malone. Just at that very point in time, on 82 minutes, Owen Bradley, and it all happened in slow motion, pulls the ball back to the edge of the box. Jack Malone races onto it, acres of space. He sticks out a right foot and almost passes the ball into the bottom corner from the edge of the box. Lovely finish by Jack Malone. He's a real talent. You know, you'll be hearing more about him in the future, no doubt. So it made it 3-2, and then right at the very end, by the way, Skinner did go off, Owen Bradley did go off, but Malone stayed on. Matthew Snoddy, who came on to replace Owen Bradley, he scored what proved to be Glenavon's 4th. A long ball over the top. It was Peter Campbell got onto the end of it. He sort of raced round, pulled the goalkeeper out of the goal, and then scored the ball to Snoddy, who couldn't really miss from into an empty net really. There was a defender maybe in the road, but that was about it. So 4-2, Glenavon jump a place in the league. They'd go above Ballymena now, who are Glenavon's next opponents. That's on Friday night, and that game is being streamed on the BBC iPlayer. But don't watch it on that there, because if we don't crack, follow it in Your Lurgan, because we'll have all the updates from Moorview Park. Well worth watching. So I'm a happy man tonight, and tonight's tea is going to be pizza and beer. So happy days.
Never know what to say after that finishes.
No, we really don't. I really hope we're talking about Glenavon win though, because Glenavon need 3 points from somewhere, because it's just it's soul destroying.
I mean, if it's going
soul destroying at the minute.
if it's going to come from anywhere, Michael, it's going to come against Carrick Rangers.
I don't know, because Carrick are a decent side. Glenavon have had a great record against Carrick Rangers as well over the last wee while, particularly at home. I still have bad memories of the 4-0 defeat at Moorview, not a couple of years ago that was. Horrible, horrible day for so many reasons, because obviously there was a fallout with Danny Purkis as well that day. That ended his tenure at the club. It was just a bad day.
Dark day.
But we've had some good days against Carrick Rangers away, so if we can get a win, you'll be seeing me smile at the end, or you will have seen me smile, put it like that, but I'm not smiling yet because it's getting very confusing now, Don, isn't it? And if we talk about Back to the Future and all that. Anyway,
It certainly does.
I think that's all I've got to talk about, thank goodness.
Plenty of chat there. If you have thoughts on what we're talking about,
Keep them to yourselves. I'm we joking, don't do it.
maybe not a bad idea. info@yourlurgan.com, and as Michael will now tell us, every social media platform you've ever dreamed of, plus a few more.
Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. I think that's them all.
Pretty impressive.
At Your Lurgan for all of them. Or just search for Your Lurgan, you'll find us.
We're looking to be on Reddit and everything else soon, maybe in the next century. Thank you very much for watching, listening to the Your Lurgan podcast. Spread the word, spread the link, share the link, do all you can, increase interest in the podcast, and give us your thoughts. I'm Donagh McKeown.
And I'm Michael Scott.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.